What is up, guys? So in today's video, I want to cover something a bit different on the channel. I've never done a video like this before. Some of you already know that I do this, those of you who I used to talk to in like a Discord group chat and stuff like that. But most of you probably don't know that I actually spent many hours planning out different stop motions I want to make, what figures I would need, what props I would need, a checklist or wish list kind of thing, basically kind of organizing the stuff I want to animate. And I've made a lot of different Google Docs kind of to serve that purpose as like kind of planning documents, right? And this document here, this is my like Dragon Ball video game planner document. Okay, this is for like, like Budokai 3, Raging Blast, Sparking Zero, all that kind of stuff. Basically animations I want to make or different videos or stuff I want to make based on those video games and stuff, right? And the reason I'm making this video is because like a few minutes ago, I was just on my phone looking through this, like the Budokai 3 document specifically, or the Budokai 3 section, and I realized that I only have, I think, 8 more figures or characters that I would need in order to make the Budokai 3 intro, which for me is actually really incredible because when I first made this document, like probably over a year ago at this point, there were so many figures I needed. And now I'm like so close, it feels like, to being able to actually make this. And the Budokai 3 intro for me is my favorite, probably my favorite video game intro ever. And I feel like whenever I hear the theme song, it just gives me that, I don't know, like a nice feeling of remembering my childhood, waking up early in the morning to play Budokai 3. And I don't know if I ever skipped the intro. I feel like I would always watch the intro just because I love that theme song. It was just so, I don't know, just made you feel nice, So I really like that. And to animate that, in stop motion form is like one of the most anticipated things for me to actually do on this channel at some point, right? So what I want to do in this video is just basically show you guys what I'm missing in order to make that intro and just give my thoughts about them and that kind of stuff, the characters, the figures, and whatever. All right. So this is the cover page of the whole like Dragon Ball game document. And the first section is Budokai 3. It says 10 out of 22. I probably got to update that because I think I've gotten more figures than that by now. Okay. But anyway, so yeah, Budokai 3. Let's go to the first one that I need. So the first figure or character I need is adult base form Gohan, basically. And I was planning and hoping to get the Black Hole Toys Ultimate Gohan figure to basically, fill that role. But as some of you might already know, and some of you might not know, it seems that that figure is canceled. And I don't know what the future of Black Hole Toys in general will be. It seems they're releasing a head sculpt set, or like just the head sculpts for Gohan along with TK Custom, and not an actual full figure anymore, which is like, why? Because the thing is, honestly, I prefer to not buy a head sculpt, and I'd rather buy like a full figure because I don't like buying head sculpts and not having a body for the head sculpt. So if I were to like buy this Gohan head sculpt set for whatever, if I wanted to display it, I would have to either like get a Goku body or sacrifice another Goku body I already have to display it and stuff. And I'd rather just get a figure, So instead of having to like buy the head sculpt set and then buy a figure. But anyways, so since that figure is canceled, I don't know what I'm gonna do regarding this Gohan. There's several options, I could theoretically get the superhero Gohan and just use the head sculpt from that, or I could get the Black Hole Toys head sculpt and just put it on the Marcelous Forever body or whatever, or I think HMYR is also doing like Ultimate Gohan head sculpts, but I don't know. I really was hoping for a Gohan figure, so I kind of have to decide how I want to move forward as far as Ultimate Gohan goes, So yeah, he's the first one that I'm missing for the animation, okay, for the Budokai 3 intro. But you see also another thing to note is that in the intro right here, he's like really happy, and none of these Black Hole Toys had like, a really like super happy expression like that. So I would still have to kind of, probably Photoshop that if I wanted it to be like, super accurate. But yeah, next thing I need, or next character I need, is Goten. And As far as I know, DF, they like showed renders of Goten and Kid Trunks like probably years ago at this point, but of course they haven't actually made those figures. Theoretically, I could use the Daima Mini Goku or the Dragon Stars one, whichever. I'd probably prefer the SHF one as a basically a substitute for Goten. But I would really just rather get an actual Goten figure. So I'm hoping that at some point, like some probably some third party company or something will make a Goten. And the reason I say third party too is because as far as SH Figure Arts go, like official figures, I don't really have much of a wish list for them anymore because I feel like almost all of their releases, except the $38 quote unquote budget figures or whatever, are just so overpriced and you don't really get a lot of accessories. So it's kind of like really not worth the money. So I think that third party figures are usually give you much more value for your money, and so I would rather get a Goten from a third party company that's gonna have like more accessories and stuff than get an official one that is gonna be like probably pretty bare bones, or if it's not bare bones, it's gonna be like way overpriced for Goten. Like they're gonna ask you like $75 for flipping Goten. You know what I mean? So I would rather have some kind of third party or something make a Goten figure at some point. But yeah, and I actually plan to make a video soon, hopefully, at least like, I'm thinking about it pretty strongly. A video just outlining my personal concerns with Bandai and the whole Dragon Ball line in general. And I've been planning to make this video for quite a significant amount of time, but like I keep pushing it back, and I think I'm getting closer to being ready to make it. But anyway, so regarding Goten, I could use the Diamond Mini Goku in theory, but I hope that some like third party company, makes a Goten at some point that I could use for this. That'd be really cool. Moving on, we have Kid Trunks. So Kid Trunks, as I said, I think DF showed renders of him and Goten like years ago. They haven't made them. Hopefully at some point, some third party company decides to make a Kid Trunks figure. This is a picture of a custom someone had on Instagram, I think. And these are kind of images that I was thinking about basically using as like, figures I thought about using for head sculpts if I were to make my own custom base form version. So I could theoretically make a custom, but I would just rather, once again, I'd rather buy a figure than make a custom myself. Because making customs is actually pretty expensive. I mean, like you got to buy the body, you got to buy the head sculpt, you got to get the paint, you got to spend all the time painting it and customizing it. And you might need a Dremel for something, and you might need to cut parts and glue them together and all that kind of stuff, So yeah, I'd rather just buy a third party figure probably than, just make my own custom or even wait for an official one. All right, continuing now, we've got Krillin, Piccolo, Oob. The next figure is Oob. Let's keep count actually. So we've got Gohan is 1, Goten 2, Kid Trunks 3, Oob is 4. Okay, so Oob, he appears very briefly in the Budokai 3 intro. So I mean, I could theoretically just like Photoshop him or something. It's just like a still image. It's not really, I don't think he moves or anything. So I could just get a, Photoshop him as a still image basically. That is possible. But I'd rather have an Oob figure. It's kind of, I think it's cooler to actually have the figure of the character than just like, Photoshop them basically. But the most recent articulated Oob figure that I'm aware of is the Jack Specific one right here that you see. And it of course has a very angry expression. And here he's more like kind of bewildered or confused. So I'd have to Photoshop his face and stuff. And he has the fist here. This figure, is decent. I could theoretically put like a WCF head sculpt on it or something too. So there's that. Or I could try making a custom Oob. Although I'm not sure how I would make a custom Oob. Like, his skin tone is way darker than most of the other figures that you could find for like custom bodies and stuff. So, and of course his proportions are like he's a kid. So like I don't personally know of any like say like 1/12 scale kid bodies with like a dark skin tone that would really suit Oob, and I don't want to repaint the whole skin tone. So it's kind of, yeah, I would rather, of course, like, I guess some third party would make an Oob or something. That'd be pretty cool, but I could also probably just Photoshop him, right? So yeah, that's Oob right there. Moving on, let's go to Gotenks. So yeah, Gotenks. I actually had the official Gotenks figure like years ago during my like first time collecting SH Figure Arts. I sold it off quite a while ago, so I don't have it anymore. But I do know that Tonson Art Toys and Square K have both shown, or it has been revealed basically, they're both working on Gotenks figures. And I'm not sure which one or ones I would want. Really not sure. The Square K looks pretty good, but Tonson Art Toys has, like, a good reputation, that kind of stuff. The sculpt detail, quality. So I don't know, but basically I would need only a Super Saiyan Gotenks what I need for this. I wouldn't really need base form or Super Saiyan 3 for the Budokai 3 intro, because he only shows up as Super Saiyan when he's fighting Kid Buu very briefly. So yeah. And of course the official one probably resells right now for about 100 plus. So I don't really feel like spending 100 plus on that. It's an older figure, and of course it's not gonna have the like stacked amount of accessories that like a Tonson Art Toys would have, So I think if Tonson Art Toys were to make their Gotenks, or possibly Square K, depending on how much accessories they have and stuff like that, they would be probably a better financial investment for me. Give me more options as expressions and that kind of stuff and accessories. Yeah. So it's really basically right now, I'm kind of trying to decide between the Tonson or the Square K for Super Saiyan Gotenks. All right. Let's move on now to Super Saiyan Gohan. So regarding Super Saiyan Gohan, I don't think I've seen any third-party companies recently like show off any kind of Super Saiyan head sculpts for him. I think Black Hole Toys was basically showing that they were planning to make like Super Saiyan Future Gohan, but not Super Saiyan like, regular adult Gohan. As far as options go, at one point, the CT Toys Gohan head sculpts, the Super Saiyan ones, would have been like the most economical option, rather than getting like the Gammas or whatever for the Super Saiyan Superhero Gohan head sculpts. But now the CT Toys does resell for quite a bit. It's no longer like, readily available like it was before. So I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to just be patient and see if like some company at some point decides to make Super Saiyan, adult Gohan, and I could use those as the Super Saiyan Gohan head sculpts, because in the intro he does fight like Metal Cooler for a bit in his Super Saiyan form, right? So yeah, and of course, as we mentioned before, the Black Hole Toys Gohan, this one I believe it's canceled. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Gohan in general, basically. Continuing now to Metal Cooler. So Metal Cooler, you see I have the note here saying wait for Dragon Stars, and I actually have these little tabs, or this button basically of like the status of the figure. So like unobtained, on the way, some parts obtained, wait for Dragon Stars, wait for SHF, wait for third party, that kind of stuff. In the case of Metal Cooler, I put wait for Dragon Stars. Now the reason mainly is because, first of all, the official SH Figuarts Metal Cooler is ridiculously expensive. Okay. And then it also has this like super shiny, almost like mirror-like finish to it that would make it an absolute nightmare to try to do like green screen with. So because it's going to be like reflecting the green screen everywhere, I thought about possibly something that you could possibly do would be to like, say, have him suspended in the air on like a rig or whatever, and have the green screen like really far away from him in the background, but you need probably a really big green screen to cover that much surface area. That might work, because that way the green wouldn't really reflect on him, right? So that's a possible option. But what I would rather, I heard years ago, there were rumors that Dragon Stars was going to make Metal Cooler, and I've yet to see it. I've been waiting for that thing for like probably almost 2 years at this point. So yeah, if Dragon Stars does eventually make a Metal Cooler, I'd probably want to use that for this. Or if some third-party company were to make a Metal Cooler, that'd be pretty cool. I think I really would hope though that it doesn't have this kind of like metallic shiny finish to it, because it's just a green screen nightmare. Like trying to like key that thing is like, no. I mean, I remember Kenny Boys Toys did an animation of this when he reviewed the figure, and he mentioned that it was like really difficult to use green screen with it. He had to fill in a lot of parts and stuff. So I'd rather avoid that, because like I'd rather have like a perfectly clean image rather than have to like edit stuff and fill stuff in, you know what I mean? So yeah, hopefully at some point Dragon Stars makes one, or a third party company makes one with a matte finish, or not a shiny finish like this or something. That'd be pretty cool. Like, I mean, I think this will be fine, probably. This kind of like greenish look with the silver gray parts or whatever, instead of this like super just like chrome look, you know? So, yeah, hoping for that. Moving on. Oh, I want to mention this. So, as far as Super Saiyan Goku goes, like I do have the recustom Lost Heroic Soul and the DF Marcelous Forever. I have the Return from Beyond on the way, but this is just a regular Marcelous Forever body here in this image. And this can work basically, like, you know, this works pretty fine. But if I want to get the battle damage, I'll have to probably like Photoshop that just so he's like all scratched up, the blood there and stuff, which is not that difficult. I mean, he only looks around for like a few frames. So I could possibly do that, but it would be easier to use the DKO and recustom the last dual Goku, like probably this head sculpt right here, where he's looking like that. That looks pretty similar to this frame from the Budokai 3 intro right here. So I'm considering possibly getting that, but I don't know whether they're gonna make those head sculpts compatible with the, like, you know, 3.0 bodies, 2.0 bodies, or only the Games Begin body, because as you might know, the Games Begin has a different peg system, different neck peg system, where the peg actually plugs into the back of his head instead of going up into his head like they usually would. So I hope they do is that they give this figure basically two peg holes where you could either put it just straight up like that, or you can peg it into the back of the head like for the Games Begin. So you could use it for either, you know, the classic style of neck peg or the new style of neck peg, basically. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see what they decide to do regarding those connections. But yeah, I think this head sculpt right here specifically will be pretty perfect for this part of the Budokai 3 intro. So it really depends on whether I feel like photoshopping this and saving some money and not buying another head sculpt set again, or I just decide to just get this. Really depends. Really depends. So let's continue. Of course, regarding Gogeta, I have the Tonson Art Toys one, so that's fulfilled and everything. Got the DF Broly for Broly. Super Saiyan 2, I've got the recustom, same thing. Super Saiyan 3, I just got the ZD Studios actually today, so I have Super Saiyan 3 Goku now. And what else is there? Oh, Omega Shenron. Oh, I have the DF Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and then Omega Shenron. This is the last one. So as far as Omega Shenron goes, I think Kong Studios has basically said that they're planning to make Omega Shenron and some other Shadow Dragons at some point. So if they release that, I might get that. Although the Dragon Stars is honestly pretty good. And like in the Budokai 3 intro, Omega Shenron is literally, he's only there for like probably like what, 10 frames. I mean, he's literally only there for a very brief time. So I might decide to just get the Dragon Stars and call it a day. Or I could possibly get Kongs or something, depending on if I think the price is worth it, you know, like whether I think the accessories are enough or the price might be too high or whatever, that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's count again. Let me see, hold on, just to get a final count here on what exactly I'm missing. Gohan is 1, Goten is 2, Kid Trunks 3, Oob 4, let's see here, Gotenks 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so there are 8 figures I need / characters to complete the Budokai 3 intro. Oh, I forgot to mention, I think there's a channel called Maverick Stop Motion that made like their version of like a stop motion version of the Budokai 3 intro, and was definitely pretty creative in many parts. The thing is though, like they replaced certain characters, so like instead of Omega Shenron, they had like Goku Black in there or something, stuff like that. And I really want to make this like super accurate, so I really want to get, like, you know, if I can, you know, get an actual Goten, get an actual Trunks, or at least customs, you know what I mean, instead of like replacing characters and stuff. So yeah, so someone already has made like their version of that intro, but I want to make my version like more accurate, you know what I mean, like, and keeping things pretty consistent with the original. So yeah, just want to mention that. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on these. We'll see if I get them in the future, if, you know, third-party companies or whoever makes them, SHF, whoever it is. You know, I'm not opposed to buying official figures if I think it's worth the money, for example, you know, but so many of them these days are just so overpriced, like flipping Supreme Kai for $75. Like, no, I'm not buying that. You know what I mean? So anyways, guys, I think I'm probably gonna do other videos like this for other stuff I want to animate, just to give you guys, you know, kind of status updates on different plans I have for certain animations I want to make for the channel and stuff like that. I also have plans in here for the Raging Blast intro, which I think I literally only need like one more thing for, and the Sparking Zero intro, which I would need quite a bit for. So yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and bye for now.